We're recording today's webinar on verification reporting, and as I stated previously, you'll be able to access this recording later on our YouTube channel, and the PowerPoint presentation will be accessible on our SlideShare account. To cover a little bit of housekeeping, we're going to record the webinar today. We'll stop the recording before question and answer, just so everybody understands that. And as I said, there's going to be two parts to today's webinar. We're going to discuss verification reporting, and we're going to talk about the requirements for both our CCIs and our school district sponsors. And then we're going to switch it over to Rose, and she's going to talk about production records. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And as a lot of you know from previous webinars, you can type a question into the question box that's on your webinar dashboard. You can also raise your hand within that webinar dashboard, or you can also contact us after the webinar if there's a question that you need a little more in-depth answer on or that you didn't feel comfortable asking in front of the group. Okay, to talk a little bit about the history, for those of you that have been in the school lunch game for a while, you'll recall in school year 12-13 and years prior to that, we had a web-based system. And you'd access that web-based system through CMP. It took you to a different website. You entered in some verification information and also uploaded some student-level information. In school year 13-14, we went back to a paper-based system. And we did this because USDA made some changes in reporting requirements. So in that school year, they asked that school districts report the number of direct certification matches that were made through the SNAP program, and to separate that number from the number of DC matches that were made through the other category. So those are programs like TANF, homeless, migrant, and runaway. And we have some definitions on not the next slide, but the slide after that. If some of these terms are unfamiliar, we'll be talking about exactly what these terms mean. But that's kind of a brief overview as to why we had to change our system. For this school year, thanks to our wonderful IT professional, we were able to get back to a web-based system. And that web-based system is nested within CMP. So we'll be showing you some screenshots of what that looks like, but we were really excited to roll out a one-stop shop and a reporting mechanism that's not only web-based, so you're not struggling with that piece of paper, but that's also nested in CMP, which is a system you're all fairly comfortable with. Okay, so as I said, what's new for this year is we now have a web-based verification reporting system that's nested within CMP. It's the same form as last year and the exact same questions, but it's web-based. So instead of turning that piece of paper into us, you'll be reporting that information directly into CMP. You're still required to report the number of matches you made for DC SNAP and DC Other. So the need to be counting those and having some sort of a mechanism to separate direct certifications through the SNAP program and your direct certifications through all the other programs, that requirement still exists. And on a subsequent slide, we'll talk about what those DC Others are if you're sort of scratching your head on that one. Actually, I think I listed them here. So that's TANF, homeless, migrant, runaway, and also that FDPIR list. So those are lists and information that you would get either from information we post within our Mustang system, or it could be information you get from someone like your homeless, migrant, or runaway coordinator at the school district. So to access this new web-based reporting, you'll link into CMP, and I've provided the URL here. But we're going to go ahead and show you some screenshots too, so you'll be able to see exactly what that looks like. To cover some vocabulary, we love our acronyms and special terms in the school lunch program. So I wanted to just kind of briefly go over some terms that we use frequently that can be a little confusing at times. So the term verification, that's the process of confirming the eligibility for free and reduced meals under the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program. That only applies to paper applications. So only paper applications would we be sending a letter to households to submit documentation on. We wouldn't be including students who were directly certified in our verification pool. Verification for cause is separate from the mandatory verification process, and you would utilize verification for cause if you had a questionable application. So when we go through the screenshots, we'll talk about where you would capture any households you subjected to verification for cause. And again, that doesn't count into the mandatory verification pool of 3%, but it's outside of that 3% pool, and those are for applications that come in and are questionable. So this is optional at the SFA's discretion. The FNS 742, that's the USDA form for reporting the verification process and outcomes. That's that PDF that you filled out and emailed into our office last year. Direct certification is a term we use to describe households that qualify for free meal benefits, and there's no paper application needed for that. So those are students that are on a list that are participating in one of those approved programs that you don't have to collect a paper application for. When we're using the term categorically eligible, in general terms, that's describing automatic eligibility for free meal benefits due to receiving benefits under certain assistance programs like SNAP, TANF, or FTPIR. And there's really two means that a household could be considered categorically eligible. The first is if they submitted a case number on a paper application. So that would be a household submitting a paper application and writing in either a SNAP case number, TANF case number, FTPIR case number. It would also describe a household that was on a direct certification list, either provided by us on the Mustang website or provided by other groups like your district homeless coordinator. So that categorically eligible term we use to describe two different types of situations. Okay, to jump in and walk through some screenshots of our CMP system that you'll be using to report data. First, we're going to talk about RCCI's reporting requirements. And our RCCIs that join us, that have joined us today, you're very lucky in that your requirements are really simple for verification. So our instructions for what you'll need to report are going to be pretty simple. And then we're going to talk about school district's requirements, which are a little more lengthy. So we'll go ahead and run through those. So this first screenshot you see here should look really familiar. This is our CMP system that you use to enter your claims and your site applications. So when you log on, and the verification was live this morning, so when you log on after the webinar, you should be able to access it. And today we just utilized WestCare as our example. So that's why you do see a little bit of sponsor-specific information in there. So the first thing you'll want to do is on that left-hand green bar, under verification, you'll want to click on the link that says Sponsor Verification, where that big red arrow is pointing you to. Once you click on that, a new screen will pop up, and that'll give you that green Go button to the left of a verification summary report. So you'll want to go ahead and click on that green Go button. When you click on that green Go button, that's going to open up to a new screen that's opening up data collection, and it really just has 3 lines. So the first, and it's outlined in that red box, is asking you for your total RCCIs. Under A, you're going to write in your total number of schools or institutions. So this is going to be equivalent to the number of sites you have in the CMP system. That's box A, that left-hand column. Box B is going to be your total number of students. So the total number of students across all sites. Once you enter that in, you're going to come down to that lowest line, And so long as you don't have any day students, which I don't believe any of you have day students, and day students are kids that come and attend your facility during the day but don't spend the night there, you're going to enter in the same number on that top line. So in that box A, you're going to enter in your total number of sites again. And under box B, you're going to enter in your total number of students across all sites. If you do have day students, so again, those are students that just attend your facility during the day and don't spend the night there, please contact us as we'll need a few additional pieces of information. Okay, so after that, you would hit that submit button, and for RCCIs, that's all the information you're required to submit to us. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and we're going to walk through the information that will need to be reported by our school districts. So there's a little more lengthy reporting requirement for school districts. So we're going to head and go through this, and then we'll head into production records. So for our RCCIs, you can kind of take a quick break and maybe grab a drink of water and just hang tight with us for a few more minutes. So this next slide should look really familiar. Again, this is our CMP system that you've been utilizing to submit claims and submit your site application. So you go ahead and log on as you usually do. You'll go ahead and click on that verification link on that green left-hand bar. You'll click on that sponsor verification. And this is going to bring up a screen. Sorry it's so small, but this is the most we could expand it. You're going to click on your school district, and here we just use Clark County as an example. So you'll click on that. In my case, it shows up in blue. Click on where your school district name is displayed. And that'll bring up a green Go button next to that line that says Verification Summary Report. So you're going to click on that green Go circle. And that's going to open up this verification summary report that's identical to the PDF you'd filled out in the past. So for this first section, we'll start with section 1. And this is similar to our CCIs. In section 1, under A, you're going to list your total number of schools or institutions. So that's your number of sites. Under B, you're going to enter in your total number of students. So that's going to be all students enrolled at all sites. Under section 2, you'll only be reporting information in section 2 if you are utilizing provision 2 or the community eligibility provision. So if you're utilizing either of those, that's going to walk you through a series of questions. Column A is where you enter in your number of sites. That's that left-hand box. Column B is where you're going to enter in the number of students. So that's that right-hand box. If you aren't operating under a provision 2 or a community eligibility provision, you're going to go ahead and just scoot on down to section 3. Everyone has to report section 3 for school districts. So this first section is going to be asking questions about direct certification. So that first box, 3.2, there's just one column. That first box is going to ask you to report the number of students directly certified through SNAP. So those are going to be students that you matched through the list provided on the Mustang website. And that's going to be students that under that program column have a letter under there other than just an A. So students that had just an A by their name under the program column, those students are directly certified through TANF, and TANF is going to be one of those DC others, which leads us to box 3.3. So box 3.3, we're going to capture the number of students qualified as a DC other. So those are going to be students directly certified as TANF, so those that had that A next to their name under program, those that are on a FDPR list, those that are certified as a homeless, migrant, or runaway. That's going to be our box 3.3. 3.4 is asking questions about the SNAP letter method. No one's to be utilizing that method anymore, so you shouldn't be reporting anything in box 3.4. And if you have questions about all of that, this is kind of a new system over the past 2 years. Please feel free to contact our office. We're happy to help walk you through any of this. Section 4, everybody's going to be filling out Section 4, and that's going to be asking about students that are approved through a household application. So that's going to capture our students that are submitting a paper application. Box 4.1 is going to reflect in column A, number of applications, number of students that are categorically free. So that's going to be the number of, in column A, number of applications, column B, number of students that were approved as free due to a case number being written on a paper application. Box 4.2 is going to be in column A, number of applications, and column B, number of students that are approved as free eligible based on household size and income information submitted on a paper application. Box 4.3 is going to be households approved as reduced based on household size and income information. So reduced students, number of applications in column A, number of students in column B. Moving on down the line to section T, box T1 is going to capture all free students reported. So that's going to be everyone free through either a direct certification or a household application. And if you're operating under a special provision, Provision 2 or CEP, you're going to want to capture that those free students from Section 2 as well. T2 is much simpler. T2 is only asking about students that you reported as reduced in line 4.3. So those are reduced students through a paper application. And if applicable, if you're participating in a special provision, you're going to want to go ahead and get the number of students out of that 2.2 little b. And again, I realize this is extremely cumbersome, so if you have questions, please contact our office. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty here. We're going to scoot on through. So here we have just a reminder, Section 2 is only for districts operating a special provision. And then we have a little cheater here, the box at the bottom, to help with what categorically eligible programs are considered DC other. And then just a reminder that everyone other than A under the program heading are SNAP DC matches. And here we have a little reminder too for the formula to add up students in section T. So T1 are all of our free students from all the boxes above. T2 are all of our reduced students. Okay, now we're on to section 5. So here we have a red outline to kind of call out what area we're focusing in on here. I've got a lot of text on this screen, but I wanted to show folks what it'll actually look like. So box 5.1, none of our school districts should be checking. No one currently meets that criteria. So scoot on down to 5.2. And this is going to ask a series of questions about your verification process. So box 5.2, that's going to ask you when your verification was performed and completed. So you want to either select that it was completed by November 15th, and we hope everyone falls into that category, or that it was completed but completed after November 15th, or that it wasn't completed. If you didn't complete verification yet, please contact our office immediately and we'll talk about how to tackle that. Moving over to 5.3, so moving over to the right, this is where you're going to indicate what type of verification process you utilized. So the first is standard, and this is what just about everybody's going to be utilizing. And this is going to be 3% of your applications and looking at your error-prone applications first. So those error-prone applications are within $100 of an income limit. And we want to really zoom in on those first because those are the ones that are most likely to have an error. So you're going to either click on box 1, 2, or 3. The first is standard, 2 and 3 are alternates. If you're selecting box 1 or 3, you're going to enter information into box 5.4, and that's asking about your total number of error-prone applications. And just to clarify too, that 3% number, that's 3% of your total applications. So when you start this process, hopefully you looked at your total number of paper applications on file for free and reduced benefits, and that's the number you start with that we take the 3% of. So again, if you were looking at your error-prone applications first, you're going to enter in the number of error-prone applications you had in box 5.4. 5.5 is going to capture the total number of applications selected. So if you were required to verify 30 applications and you had 15 that fell into that error-prone category, you would report 15 in 5.4, but then you would report 30 in 5.5 to reflect the total number of applications you verified. Five six is asking questions about direct verification. If you've conducted direct verification in your district this year, please contact us directly. To my knowledge, no one has utilized that option, which is fine. So most folks won't be reporting anything in 5.6. All right, so we're going to move on down to 5.8. Now this area is where you're going to capture your outcomes from the verification process. So at this point in time, ideally you've already pulled your sample pool and you've sent out all your letters. You had all that buttoned up by November 15th. Sections A, B, and C are where you're going to record of those applications you verified that were free. You report the outcomes of that under Section A. And that's based on a case number on an application. Capture that in A. Applications that were free based on household income and size, you're going to capture that in B. And then under C, you're going to capture your reduced applications. So you'll look at the outcomes of that based on your verification process and what documentation came back. Capture that in 5.8. The good news is at this point in time, you'd be able to click on that submit button, and that would shoot the information through CMP to us, and unless we have any questions, you would be done with that process. So I'm sure everyone will be very happy to click that submit button. Okay, what's the deadline? Verification reporting must be completed by February 2nd. And the link for everyone to have access to their verification reporting was opened up this morning. So everyone is now free to get into CMP, record that information that hopefully you already completed by November 15th, that you captured on that paper 742 form, and all you have to do now is do that data entry. So we want to encourage you to not delay and get that information into us. If you have questions, we'll be answering questions at the end of the webinar, as we usually do. But you can also always contact our office if you'd like to schedule a time to review your verification information. So if you have questions about if you capture the correct information on that paper form, go ahead and give us a ring and we can walk you through that process before you enter that into CMP if anything is questionable.